This is Back to Back.
Yo, what's up, back-to-backers? This is Willy Joy. Welcome to the show. This is Back to Back. This is my podcast. How you feeling out there? How we doing? I hope you're well. I hope you're feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a little rushed. I'm recording this intro a little earlier than I would normally do because I am setting off in a couple days on a West Coast trip. I'm actually going out there mostly not for podcast business this time around. I'm working on something new, something I can't tell you about just yet, but in the coming months, you'll definitely hear more about it. But in the meantime, I got to take care of all my podcast babies. I guess that's you? You guys are babies? I don't know. People always say that. It seems like a compliment till you really think about it. I don't think you're babies. I think you're intelligent, attractive, above average human beings. And that is also how I feel about today's guest. I've got Wuki returning to the show. My guy, my friend. I love Wuki. I was happy to have him back on. He's got a lot going on right now. He was nominated for a Grammy this year. A huge accomplishment that made me so happy when I saw it. That was for the best remixed recording for his remix of Miley Cyrus's song Mother's Daughter. It's a great remix, and I think seeing him get recognized for it, it's just a great moment. It's a feel-good moment, but it's also inspirational, and I talk about this in the conversation, but it's, just again, it's proof positive that there really is a space out there for any idea you might have, and Wuki's the perfect person to sort of bring that to the forefront. He also just put out a brand new EP with Nitty Gritty called Rochambeau, and they're out on the Rochambeau tour as well. All the dates, all the music, everything, that's going to be a link in the description of this episode. You got to go follow Wuki. He's got a new remix he did for DJ Snake's track, Made in France, which is crazy. That's one of my favorite tracks from Wuki I've heard in a long time. And most importantly, we talk about this at the end of this conversation, but he just announced that he's making an album. There's going to be a Wuki album out later this year. So you got to keep your eyes out for that. You got to keep your eyes out for his Wukileaks, which is his own record label, as well as the series of tracks that he drops kind of whenever he feels like it. But they're always fun. They're always something every DJ is playing. And finally, he's got his own radio show too, Wukileaks Wednesdays, which is once a month on Diplo's Revolution. And that's actually my radio brother right there, because my show, Back to Back Radio, airs every Wednesday night on Diplo's Revolution, and that's channel 52 on Sirius XM. So yeah, that's a mouthful. Wuki's doing everything right now. I'll tell you how we met up in just a second. Before I do, as always, Back to Back is brought to you today by my friends over at Serato. We just checked in with Serato. They're telling us business is booming. I've been hearing a lot of feedback about these ads. It makes me happy. I love the company. And today I want to tell you about their newest product, which is Serato Studio. This is for all my producers out there. Listen up. Serato Studio is here. It's a brand new beat making tool to help simplify the path to creativity. I think we're all familiar with that feeling of sitting in the studio and just getting frustrated that you can't get your idea out there fast enough because you're hitting some kind of technical roadblocks. Serato Studio is here to fix all of that. It comes built in with tons of loops, samples, effects, and the interface is really easy to use. It's really intuitive. Serato's got over a decade in the game designing software for DJs, and they brought all of that expertise to the table when they made Serato Studio. There's a bunch of cool features. They've got their pitch and time algorithm, so manipulating audio is really easy and it sounds fantastic. They've also got sample packs available from some of your favorite artists, people like Just Blaze, Flosstradamus, and so many more. And right now, I've got a special deal just for listeners of this show. If you go to Serato.com/studio and sign up for a subscription to Serato Studio, use the code WillyJoy2, that's WillyJoy and then the number 2 at checkout to get 2 free months of Serato Studio. That is a ton of time. That's more than enough time to stretch out, have a lot of fun with Serato Studio at no obligation to you. So go check them out right now. That's www.serato.com/studio and use code WillyJoy2 at checkout to get 2 free months of Serato Studio. All right? So look, Wuki is here this week, and Wuki was just starting off his tour with Nitty Gritty when I caught up with him. In particular, this was a busy day for him because a lot of his family was in town, and he was just about to go to the Grammys. So this conversation took place just, I think, 2 days before he went to the Grammys. So, we were talking about pre-show jitters. Nobody knew what was going to happen. There was a lot of excitement in the air. And look, Wuki didn't end up winning the Grammy. To be honest, I don't even remember who did, but that's not really the point. Just getting the nomination is such a huge accomplishment. It's something very few artists ever accomplish in their career. So I'm super proud of Wuki. It was really fun to talk to him about that, about what led up to the nomination and making that remix. I hope you like this conversation. I think you will. If you do, and if you want to support this show, the best way you can lend me a hand, support me. It's free. It doesn't cost any money. All you got to do is help spread the word about this show. Tag me in your stories. Put up a tweet letting people know you're listening. Just tell a friend who loves music as much as you do. I'm at Willy Joy on all social media. The show is at Back to Back Pod. And anytime I see that support, anytime I see somebody tagging us, I'm always going to be replying, reposting your content. I love meeting everybody out there. Not to mention, I love talking to everybody on our Discord. There is a Back to Back Discord server, and we're in there every single day chatting, talking about our days, talking about what we're working on. If you're a producer, there's an area where you can post your music and get feedback and meet other people trying to do the same thing. It's just become a really awesome community. It's been kind of an unexpected bonus, just an awesome way to start 2020 for me. You can always email me directly too if you want. backtobackpod@gmail.com is the email address. But for now, I just want to jump into this conversation. Wuki's crushing right now. I love seeing him out there. So let's get into it right now. This is me and Wuki back to back. Let's go. Where are you living in LA these days?
So I live downtown. I'm pretty close to Chinatown.
Is that where you always were?
No, when I first moved to LA, it was like West Hollywood, Melrose area. I was like really close to Melrose, and I don't know. That's not for me. It's like I hate the streets there.
Oh, really?
That's the biggest thing I hate. It's like, everyone's going to say the traffic in LA just sucks everywhere, but I hate it. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. Downtown's not great either.
I was going to say, yeah. If you hate traffic and,
No, actually, okay. So like the roads are like wider and there's like, I don't know. I have a better time driving around downtown.
Yeah.
And you're near highways. When I would drive through West Hollywood, it would take me like, just to get to the highway, it would take me an hour.
That's true. Yeah, it's frustrating to be sort of off in one corner. Downtown, at least, is central, so you never have to like...
Dude, you're near every major highway. It's a straight shot to the airport. All like the best food is there. All the studios are there. A lot of the best studios are there. The only thing is, there's just not exactly... the streets aren't exactly clean.
It's the front line of gentrification in LA, or at least one of them. And do you have a studio space out there too?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a studio. It's just like a room that I could be loud in.
Is it like a rehearsal space?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, there's like a mariachi band down the
Oh, for
hall.
real?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. I treated it pretty well, so it's like it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is just to be able to be loud all night, because then I could just make shit till like 4 a.m.
Is that your thing? Are you an overnight worker?
I am, dude. At least I don't know when it happened, but like I wasn't always like this. But recently, it's just been like 6 a.m., 6 a.m., 6
Damn,
a.m.
That's interesting.
It kind of sucks because it really hurts my my sleeping.
Of course,
But,
man.
yeah.
And I know you're health conscious and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing.
I want to try to get off of it, but whatever.
You're not too worried about it. Seems to be working. Well, yeah, man. And I mean, not to mention, of course, you're on the road a ton these days too, which is going to fuck up your sleep schedule regardless. And maybe even take right now, you're on tour with Nitty Gritty. You guys are going out kind of every weekend for a few months at least, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, I think one could make the argument that it's almost better to just stay on that schedule, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have much I need to do during the day, luckily. The thing that gets frustrating is like when I need to contact management and it's like I'm getting up and they're like, I only got like 3 hours to figure stuff out with them. Because, people go home.
Yeah.
Actually, Jason works all night, which I love.
Oh, well, that's helpful.
Shout out, Jason.
Yeah.
He's probably listening.
Yeah, I've run into that problem too, man, because I was just talking to somebody about this, how there's sort of different attitudes. Like some people are very 9 to 5 minded, and some people you could text them any time of day or night, they'll respond. And for me, especially living on the East Coast now, there's the 3-hour time difference. And so, when I wake up in the morning, it's like 5 a.m. in LA and nobody's trying to talk to me.
Yeah, man, I just told you I switched managements, and that was one of the big reasons that, I was on the schedule, I couldn't get off, and I would wake up and they'd be out of the office. And
right.
It just,
and
I don't know.
What do you do?
Felt like I wasn't getting anything done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a frustrating feeling, man. The relationship between an artist and a manager is so specific and so individual, you know?
It depends on every person.
Yeah. And it's just a weird thing. And if you're with somebody for a long time too, that it can grow and change over time.
Well, it's so much like, just like any relationship, it's like a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, you don't really know what you want until you start having it for a while, and you don't know what you need.
That's a great point.
Until you have someone and you try it out, and then you have to kind of figure out and be like, oh yeah, that is my personality trait. Oh, I need someone to help me with that.
So for you, what do you need management for? Like, what do you rely on them for?
So I personally love feedback on my tunes. I really love that. And for someone to be really, really into the music and kind of almost be just like a second brain. I could throw things, whatever I was going to say, but a second brain on the music and throw things at them and be get their ideas and maybe not take every idea, take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
You could push back on this, and someone who's open to me, being against their ideas too. I guess openness is really important, and creativeness is important. Even to some degree, I think a manager needs to be creative.
Yeah.
And problem solving. I don't know.
Yeah. You're right. It's just like romantic relationships.
It is.
You know?
It's creepy how much it's like.
And here, tell me if you relate to this too, because I'll see people, how sometimes you see somebody who's in a long-term relationship and you're just like, man, they're trapped in that one. That's not good. I see that in the industry too, where it's just like, man, these guys really got to find something else.
Yeah. But you just got to figure it out for yourself, really.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
That's what I like about getting old. I kind of feel like I like it. I'm figuring out myself more and my brain more.
Dude.
I was so insecure in my 20s, I think about it. And
Same.
now
This is a broad question, but what are you more confident about now? Or what do you think was sort of holding you back before that now you're just more aware of?
I guess, yeah, not knowing exactly what you want in a way. You like the idea of something, but you don't know if you actually want that. I don't know. It's hard to put into words, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that certain things are really important to me. So I think prioritization is a big thing.
That's huge.
I kind of figured out in my late 20s that I don't really care too much about partying, I guess. I like to I like to go out and experience things, but
right.
I don't need to chase some kind of dragon or whatever. I like to kind of ride my own ship.
Yeah, dude, I relate to that very strongly because I definitely, and just knowing what you want, what you said earlier too, that's such a simple concept, but it's so hard to actually do. Because I think especially in the careers we have, like that lifestyle, if it's going well and cool things are happening, it becomes very easy to just sort of say yes to everything and to sort of feel like you want to participate in everything because, you know, it's going good and people like you and, you know, everything feels like it could be an opportunity.
Yeah, there's like books written on this stuff, The Power of No, man.
Right.
You got to know if it devalues you or whatever. I mean, I've had a hard time with that. I've only really started kind of like taking those moves in the last couple years, really. I guess this is on getting some like on some morality shit, but it's like knowing your values, what you stand for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important too, not only for sort of personal fulfillment, but artistically too, right? Yeah. Because I think it's really easy to sort of, again, if things are going well, it's easy to sort of get pulled into like sonically, like something that's popular, something that's popping off. And then, you know, you may look back 6 months down the line and be like, well, I don't really like that song that I made. Like, why did I make that? You know?
Yeah.
But for you, it's interesting because I feel like it's the flip. Like I was thinking about when we were in Japan and when we recorded you on the show the first time, which is fucking 3 years ago now. It's so crazy. And around that time, like I was skimming through that episode today just to kind of remind myself. And you were kind of at this time where you were just launching Wukileaks and we were kind of talking about, you know, what's the next couple of years look like, you know, what you want to do, that kind of thing.
What'd I say?
Well, you were basically saying more or less what you did, which was, you know, I want to do my own thing. I don't want to be beholden to like labels or gatekeepers. I want to be able to make what I want to make and kind of have it all on an equal playing field. I might be just making it up now, but this is what I feel like you've done is you've sort of been able to do that if really not kowtowing to, you know, a trend or a scene, incorporating a lot of your older influences, which I think is really hard to do in the modern EDM world. I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about it if you look back at the last, you know, 2.5, 3 years?
I mean, you just made me feel really good about myself, so thank you.
Good. You should, man.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's cool to hear that. I should have listened back. Yeah, the Wukileaks thing definitely like kind of brought me to this level, I think. And shit, did I drop da 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 at that point, or we like to fuck that shit? I don't think I did.
No, definitely not. We like to fuck that shit. The da 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 maybe.
Even though those were edits, I feel like they did so much for me.
Well, like, I mean, they're timeless. Like now you just hear them everywhere all the time.
I know, it's so weird. I know they're just edits, but like I don't know. Everyone I see is like, oh my God, I love your Wukileaks. So it's sick, man. I mean, it feels good. It feels good just to, I guess it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, like feel confident that like, oh, I was making the right choices and trust my gut more. Let's keep doing what you're doing.
And it's funny hearing you talk about those edits that, I mean, they've blown up bigger than like anybody's original song, you know? It's everywhere. But it's interesting to think about. So if you think about when you were making those edits, right? Was there any thought in your head? Did it feel different than making something else that you've made that was less popular? Like, were you in the moment like, this is going to be a big thing?
I think so. Yeah. I think I knew when I made the da 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 one, I was like, oh yeah, people are going to play this. And then I kind of got addicted to that feeling of like just making like stupid shit that everyone's gonna play.
Yeah.
So I just started making more and more and more. I guess you kind of know. Yeah, you know, because I actually remember like when I did the other one, Pond to Time, that like everyone plays.
Right.
I remember saying, I tweeted it. I was like, I think I just made the next We Like to Fuck That Shit. So I did know. Yeah, there is. Yeah, something. I think even with like original tracks, something happens where like, you know, that like, oh yeah, that's the one we're keeping.
Right.
I mean, that's a skill in itself, actually, to know when to stop, know when you hit it, you know.
Yeah, knowing when to stop is so hard to do, man. Is that something you've struggled with in the past?
In the past, I think I'm getting a lot better at it now, for sure.
Well, yeah, there's like a simplicity in a way to a lot of your songs that I really like. And when I say simplicity, I don't mean like it's simple music, but it's...
I love that as a compliment.
Okay, good. And I think that's really hard to do. It's something I talk about on the show all the time. It's like making the simplest idea work is sort of the hardest thing to do, you know?
And it's always the best, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. It's interesting, too, because you don't always take the obvious choices. Like if I think about, I don't know, like a song like Chop It or... what's the other one? Chicken Wing? Is that the name of it?
Oh, yeah. That's not out yet, though.
Oh, okay. Well,
but it's okay.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, some people might have heard. I feel like that's getting played out a lot, right? By some people.
People are playing that.
All of that is to say, sort of the way those drop and the structure of them and sort of when the like really energetic parts of the songs happen, to me, it's always in sort of unexpected ways.
For sure.
Like, I wonder when you're making a song like that and making it in an unconventional way, do you think about or do you worry about how it's going to fit in with what else is going on?
No, I don't worry about how it's going to fit in because I like that it doesn't fit in. And I think other people do too. My main concern is like, is it a banger? Not to quote Aziz Ansari, but dude, is it a banger? Are people going to play this? Are people going to react to this? Because then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what genre it is.
Right.
What's a genre? I don't know. It's label that somebody put on it. And it's like, really at the end of the day, it's like sound that's pushing. And if it makes people move or not, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Well, and I love it too. I mentioned that one thing I like about what you're doing is that you reference your influences a lot. And I think you do it maybe in a more direct way than some people that I know. And I love that because, you know, you've got, like we came up in Chicago, like you reference like footwork music sometimes or just older pop styles, all that kind of stuff. And I don't even know where I'm going with this. I think it's just an interesting choice.
Well, I definitely try to, I could see myself taking elements from like weird things you wouldn't even think would be like from that inspiration. Like my music doesn't really sound like Chemical Brothers, but I always think like, what would they do in this situation? Kind of like the way they look at it in like a psychedelic way.
Oh, interesting.
Like having things like, I don't know, it is hard to put in words, but like happen later, which to me is like an influence from them, but like you wouldn't exactly hear it.
Right. But it's almost an influence in like the way you think about writing music.
I guess so,
and not how it sounds.
Yeah.
And that's super interesting too. So yeah, I mean, you know, Chemical Brothers you mentioned. Are there other older acts that you kind of think about just in general?
Dude, honestly, Daft Punk for sure.
Yeah. It
actually blows my mind when I meet kids in the dance world today that don't know Daft Punk.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, come on, dude. Come on. Their shit still holds up. They have like the best hooks. Every song's like a hook in some kind of way.
Yeah.
So I think that in a way that has like really, really permeated into my music. I always try to like be like, what is the hook? Even if not like it doesn't have to be a vocal hook. It could be, you know.
It could just be a moment, right?
Yeah, exactly. A moment.
And I mean, maybe that's a good way to talk about, you know, we're talking about different influences, making unexpected choices. And that all kind of led you to this point you're at now where you have a Grammy nomination all of a sudden for a remix that sounds like it was made sort of in that same free-flowing, just like, I like this, so I'm going to make it style.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, thank you. Yeah,
congratulations.
It's fucking crazy, dude.
It's insane, man. It made me real happy to see that.
Dude, it's crazy.
I mean, making that remix, the Miley Cyrus remix for which you are nominated, how did that feel? Like when you made that, did that feel any different?
Well, I definitely put a lot into it. Like I wanted to make it really, really good. Not that I don't want to make everything really good, but you know, obviously it was like, so it was like one of the first things that my managers brought in as new management.
Okay.
So it was like, all right, let's crush this. Yeah. And then obviously it was coming out of major. And so I was like, I need to make this awesome no matter what. I mean, I definitely like to use like vocal chops, obviously, in my music. Right. I kind of think of it as like, I don't know, I want to always stay true to the song because I feel like so many people worked on the song and like wrote the song. Like there's probably 5 to 10 writers on that song, you know?
Right.
So like they all got it to a certain point, wrote these verses, and like, you know, I want to keep that intact because I think that's the song. I don't like to do too much, but so like obviously I wanted to make like a drop because it's dance music.
Yeah.
And
that's what they're coming to you for.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of like, how can I put in this words how I like try to make drops these days? I don't want to make like anything that sounds like anything else usually, like number one. So like I'm never going to do just like a big like
yeah. Well, there's certain structures that get super overused. I
try to build like a spectrum of sound, I guess, that like it like builds builds like a world that is really like danceable and like kind of just flows into it. I don't know. It's just got to like feel right. And like each little piece can do that. Like I like to do like something where like there's like a synth kind of like almost like a percussive thing and like a vocal that like accents off it. So like if you listen to that drop, it's really just the drums, the synth going, and then Miley going up, 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 up. So back up. Right. And then one more vocal sample. So everything in there wouldn't be interesting by itself, really. But when it all comes together, it like created this like world that was like danceable.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I know exactly what you mean. It's sort of like putting together a puzzle, right? Where each piece affects the other pieces. And if you sort of are able to get it into perfect alignment.
Yeah, and they all kind of bounce off each other and it becomes like this like weird like dancey train. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. There's like a momentum to it, like when you're in the moment writing it, right?
Yeah.
Where there's this weird momentum where you change one thing and then you immediately you hear, oh, now this other thing has to be changed. And at least to me,
it fits like a puzzle kind of.
Yeah. And there's this, I get this like hectic energy almost where it almost feels like you're juggling a bunch of things and you don't want to let anything fall, or like you're trying to hold something together while it's being created.
I feel like a lot of good trap does this. And even some of the like cool, my favorite like rhythm guys kind of do this. There's this guy Drippy that is super sick. It's just like real simple.
I got to check him out.
But it's cool.
But yes, like small number of elements, but all sort of making each other more effective. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's a big way how I make music. And I basically like, it took me like 3 or 4 passes to get there. I have like some rough versions that were like, definitely not the versions, but so one's kind of cool. I'm going to use it for something else. But it only took like 4 or 5 passes, and then just like all the mixing and mastering and getting the drums to sound right. Because to me, drums are like the hugest part.
What do you start with?
What did I start with? Well, that was a remix, so I started with the vocal.
Right.
But
just in general, like, do you have a method when you sit down to a blank session?
Well, I've been getting into modular synths, so that's one way I've been doing shit. No, I don't have any one way. Actually, a lot of times I will kind of like conceive of an idea in my head first, like kind of like conceptual. Like Chop It was like that,
right? Like you heard what you wanted it to be before.
Yeah. And I knew that I wanted to use scissors in it. Chop, chop, chop,
sure.
Chop, chop, chop. And I kind of like had that idea before I went into it. So yeah, it really all depends.
Yeah. That's a hard thing to do too, man, is having the idea and then being able to make it sound like what you hear in your head, you know? That's a whole nother skill in and of itself.
Yeah. I guess maybe I've like managed expectations in my head. Like I know I can't make like Aphex Twin, but like I could do other cool shit, and that's what I I don't know, maybe I think of that
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
of that.
Well, and I think that's what's refreshing about your music a lot of times is that you're not trying to be anything, you're just you. And it got you a Grammy nomination.
Hey.
It's funny to think about too, like before we started recording, we were talking about how you're doing a bunch of press around the Grammys and doing a whole bunch of interviews. Like, have you just talked about making this remix like 20 times this week already?
I haven't talked about it too much. I've done more like writing about it.
It's just a funny mode. I mean, I know you come from the band background, so of course you're used to probably tons of interviews anyway, but does it feel different? Like what changed once you got the nomination? What did you start doing that you weren't doing before? Who was approaching you? Did life change noticeably?
Not really. Not yet. I mean, at least I think it's just another incremental badge. I think that's kind of what this industry is, at least not for everyone. Some people blow up overnight, but like for me, it's been just like an incremental kind of like nailing down different big things, the Chainsmokers remix, you know what I mean? Whatever, RL Grime remix, Alsla EP, like those things all kind of like stack up and like you become more legitimate in the public's eyes. And I mean, this is just it's like a big stamp of approval and validation from like the world to me. And so the biggest thing that's changing is like I guess I feel more confident because it's like, okay, I've been making some right choices and people are resonating with it. And like I said, that like I just changed managements. Like it was kind of the universe telling me like, I guess that was a good idea, dude.
Right. There you go. Yeah, that's fantastic, man. And I think, you should feel good, man. I mean, it's a very small group of people who have been nominated for a Grammy, especially in the dance music world.
Yeah, especially EDM world.
Right, yeah. You know what I was actually thinking about on the way over here is, do you remember when Skrillex won the Grammy?
For sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if you watched it, but I remember like there was a bunch of us were just excited that like somebody we knew maybe would get a Grammy.
Yeah.
And did you watch like the live stream of it?
I did. I remember it, man. I couldn't believe it. I remember it was such a big deal for EDM people because it was just like right on the bubbling up point. Like towards the end, like really starting to like blow up.
I mean, that was the tipping point of, I think, everything that was going to come, all the crazy fucking festivals and millions of dollars that flowed in and all that. But it's the live stream, I was just thinking about it, watching it because, it was the pre-tape thing. So it wasn't on TV. You had to stream it, and watching it, like it just looked like, it almost looked like he was accepting like an award in like a high school gym or like a VFW, because they were like, there weren't very many people there and it was early and, I feel
That's
like
going to be me.
Yeah. But what was so cool about it was, it was like, I feel like they didn't even have all the lights turned on or something. Like it felt very DIY. And then you looked at Sunny and 12th Planet was there, a few other people hanging out. And it was just like, hey, those are my friends. Like, I know those guys. And it really, to me, was like, it sounds sort of corny to say, but all of a sudden it made sense to me and I could visualize how it all fit together. They're like, these are just some guys. And now they're at the Grammys and they're people I know. And I'm not saying that, I could see myself doing it, but it did just sort of connect the worlds to me that, these awards that you see on TV, it's all the same, like anybody can do that.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Same with most musicians and artists, man. Like I've been hitting up a lot more people just on DMs through Instagram, like other singers I want to work with and stuff. And man, so many people are cool to just work, man.
Yeah.
They don't care how, I mean, granted I have, like a check mark and whatever, but like they might see that and be a little more prone to hit me up. But I try to hit people at like my level. I don't hit up like Drake and like big ass singers and stuff. But
although now that you got the nomination, man, I feel like probably you got a little more clout to swing around.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. But like I try to like work on the ground level with people. And I think that's good advice for up and coming guys too. Like don't like try and like build your network. That shit like really, really helps.
Yeah, you're right. Because we talked about building the team, but we didn't talk about the network. And that's so essential.
Yeah. My producer buddies are like they're so valuable to me, really.
Oh, I mean, it's
sure.
the only reason I'm still in this game.
I feel you.
Excuse me. The only reason I'm still in this game is 100% because of the network of friends and peers that I built up over the years. I know you relate to this. I mean, my career has taken so many weird turns and ups and downs and unpredictable things. If I didn't have that network of people who, and it's not even that it's people who, physically did something that, saved me or something, but it's more just having that safety net of like-minded people who you can bounce ideas off of and who it's like a safe space where you can show them what you're working on if you're not sure about it, all that kind of stuff. I definitely could not have made it without that.
Yeah, it's huge, man. We're made to work with other people. So that's like number one, like lesson to be successful is like learn how to work with people and find out like what they could help you with and what you could help them with.
Sure, yeah. Well, that's actually an interesting thing because you're very collaborative. You work with a lot of different people. How are you with, being precious about an idea or
I'm not precious
egos
at
in the
all.
studio, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Maybe it's because I like dabble in psychedelics, but like I feel like I really try to like let go of my ego. I mean, unless I like really, really believe in the idea, then I know that I love it too. So like it doesn't even matter if someone else doesn't like my idea. If I love it, then it's mine. I don't care.
Right.
And
you can just save it for later.
Yeah. Not being married to your ideas is super important to be creative, man. It's so important. I don't know, no one wants to work with someone like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No one wants to work with someone like that. And I'll say from personal experience, what I've found is once I'm able to let go of whatever idea I think is so cool, usually the better idea will be right behind it.
For sure,
you
yeah.
know?
Dude, I mean, I can't tell you how many remixes have done that. I mean, the Miley remix was the first one. I was like, I think I'm going to go with this version. And then, I don't know. I guess in the back of my mind, I wasn't really feeling it. Or like it wasn't good enough. And somebody else mentioned like, it doesn't really like fit the vibe of the song. And I was like, all right, maybe you're right. Maybe I should try one more thing.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. And same thing with the Aural Grime remix. That was a while ago now, but I was going to hand in one that sounded way different. And actually my girlfriend is kind of like a big like counterpoint to me. She'd be like, are you sure you could do better?
Oh, that's cool. That's actually cool.
No, yeah, it's sick. I owe a lot to my girl, honestly.
Yeah. She's dope, man. I love her. She doing all right? She good?
Yeah, she's killing it, man. She's
Good.
having fun.
She did the vocals on those two tunes, right?
She did the one with Valentino.
Right.
Better.
Yeah.
I'm a better bitch.
God, that's such a great line too.
And that was actually her idea to change the lyric too. Cause I was recording in my house. I was saying, I'm a better DJ than all the other DJs.
Oh, yeah.
So fuck whatever it is. And she was like, you should say bitch. And I was like, you should do it. And I was like, sound like a bitch.
Yeah.
And she did it.
And yeah,
nailed it.
She nailed it. Yeah. That's awesome, man. No, because that song that's another one too, where it's so simple, it's so catchy.
But it's a good hook, right?
It's a great hook,
Yeah.
but it's also like a different kind of sound, right?
Yeah.
For you. So it's like it's still your essence, but it's in this other framework that like makes it feel new. I feel like you're good at sort of just like flipping those ideas that way.
She did NYC to LA too.
Right. As long as we're talking about collabs, let's do like a real quick like speed round kind of thing, because you've worked with a lot of different people. I'm just going to say a name of somebody you worked with and tell me if anything pops to mind about that experience.
Okay.
How about Valentino, since we were talking about him?
Yeah, Valentino, he's so good like at breaking the rules in a cool way. That's what I love about Valentino. Like he showed me like the EQs on the synth I sent him, because like the demo I sent was like pretty raw or whatever. It was mostly just like the vocal and the synth.
Right.
He totally changed the synth just by like EQ, like splitting it up in like 3 or 4 different ways and like just like doing these really, really obscure EQs on them. But it sounded super cool.
That's interesting.
And
was just like weird cuts, or was he boosting?
Yeah, weird
crazy
boosts.
Yeah.
He split it up to like low, mids, highs, and like they were all like, it was like that like joke EQ you see. It looked like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's what I've always loved about Valentino. And I make a lot of my music kind of like, I feel like he's a big influence, honestly. And just the simplicity, he nails that shit.
Man.
I mean, Deep Down Low is the simplest, best song, dance song that's ever existed, I think.
Still, it's a classic to this day, man. And even his newer stuff, like, you're right, all of his ideas are so simple, but it's just nobody else could make it, you know?
Yeah, that's why I knew that collab would be perfect for him.
Yeah. What about Anna Luno?
Anna is super good at, like, you know, we were talking about like knowing when to stop. She's really good at that.
Okay.
She knows like when to hear that spot. And she's also like super good at just like writing and delivering lyrics. And yeah, she like gets house music so much that like when it's like pumping, she's like, that's it. Don't lose that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I remember
catches the vibe.
Yeah, from that session, she definitely like, she held me back. I started changing shit. She was like, don't change it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I liked how those tracks turned out too, because I felt like that was a little different for both of you guys. Yeah, she's dope. What about, since you're on tour with him, what about Nitty Gritty?
Dude, Nitty is like, just like a machine, man. He does everything like so technically perfect in his sessions. And like every time I've collabed with him on something, like it's all set up exactly the same.
Oh, really?
And like, he's just like, he's super technically good and super creatively good. That dude's just kind of a machine, man.
He's ridiculous.
I called it like 3 years ago. I remember talking to his manager. I was like, dude, Ricky's going to be fucking huge. Let's watch, dude.
Well, he's nuts because he makes everything and it's all good.
Yeah. And pop everything. Dude. He's crazy.
That's people don't even know some of the stuff he does that doesn't come out under his own name. You know?
And like his Rock EP, you ever listen to that shit?
Shit is so good too.
It's like, he's
what
ridiculous.
the fuck, man?
And he knows he is. Son of a bitch.
Although I do think of him not as like a younger you, but I think you guys, you know, with like the edit game is really good. And I'm not saying that he looked at what you were doing and studied it or was influenced by it necessarily, but I do feel like he's sort of following this lineage and maybe just like improve, you know, he's the next generation.
Yeah, for sure. Like if he wanted to, he could have like a very like focused sound, but he wants to dabble in everything because he's
fucking awesome.
Yeah, because he can do it.
Has the tour been going on for a bit now, or is this the start?
No, it's like 3 weeks in.
Okay, how's it been?
Great, man. Yeah, everything's been awesome. Pretty like stoked and scared for this weekend because it's just like a lot. It's the LA show, and then the Grammys are the next day.
Right. Where are you playing in LA?
Academy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Hell yeah.
I was thinking about, you come from a band background, and we covered a lot of that in the last episode. So for the listeners, if you want to hear, it's super interesting, go back and listen to that other episode. But I was thinking about sort of the way you tour over the years, right? Because anyone who comes from the band background did it in a serious way. Like, that's a grind. You're in the van, you're with a bunch of other people. It's not very glamorous. From then until now, other than sort of the obvious stuff that you're touring as a solo act now, what's changed? Like, do you have mechanisms for yourself on tour that you've sort of learned over the years?
Well, I definitely like take care of myself way better. Way, 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 way better.
What was it like in the early days?
Oh, God, dude. So bad. So bad.
Like,
I think maybe I am kind of a health nut now because I fucking destroyed myself in my 20s.
Like, are we talking about just like drinking and partying? Or?
Oh, yeah, dude. When we went on tour with 303, it was like drinking until 2 a.m., waking up at 4 p.m. drinking for like 3 months straight.
Wow.
It was rough. And I remember like, I knew I like was starting to like kind of have a problem because it like wasn't, I wasn't like hungover really, or like I was, but I was just like in this state of always fucked up.
You could feel your tolerance getting higher and higher.
Dude,
yeah.
Yeah. So like, I know I keep saying like I don't do like a lot of drugs or anything or any much drinking, but I do try to like go out and like kind of like see, because I love meeting people.
Yeah.
And like just like seeing like the after parties and stuff like that. Because I think it's important to like see and like catch the vibe of the scene and stuff like that.
I agree.
And because every time you come back to the city, you kind of know like, ooh, they kind of like this a little more. Not that you want to cater too much, but like it's kind of fun to like,
Yeah. Well, I think the better, man. Oh, dude, the better you know a place and the people there and all that, I think it just gives you more leeway to sort of do whatever you want to do in a way that's going to connect with them, you know?
I think Dr. Fresh kills that, dude. Like, everyone loves Dr. Fresh. Every city I go to, like, everyone wants to, like, talk about Dr.
I just
Fresh.
look at that dude. I love him too. And he's been on this show. And, like, I just look at him and I'm like, that seems exhausting to me because he's so happy and so like just energetic all the time. Yeah. And I want to ask him about that, if that's just his personality or if he feels like stressed out by that sometimes.
Dude, my favorite shit is when he's getting his hair dyed on his Instagram
on the stories. Yeah.
And you could tell the girl's just like, okay, again. He does like 20 of them.
And he's like screaming into the phone.
And she's just like smiling. Like.
Yeah. It's so funny. And he does it all the time too, which I love. I feel like he must just walk in. She's like, God damn it.
He should be a game show host.
Oh, he would kill that, man. He should, I mean, honestly, he should be a podcast. He should host something. Yeah. Yeah. That dude's the best, man. And it showed, like, if you go see him play, too, it's to say people connect with that energy.
For sure, man.
Yeah. That's an interest. Okay, so this is, I'm going to come back to what we were just talking about, but that's an interesting question, is playing live for you. Do you feel like you as a DJ has changed over the years? And do you feel like, you know, we've talked about sort of the way you think about making music, the kind of music you make. How much do you think about the way you're presenting it in a live setting? And, you know, have you figured out the best ways for you to sort of connect with the people watching you?
Well, so in this world, in this like EDM edit everything world, I don't know. A lot of people hate on it, but I think the mic is so important. You have to get on the mic. Maybe you don't count every drop. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, because that gets annoying.
Right.
But like, you got to think of ways to like entertain. And I don't know. People get bored when it's just, at least, I shouldn't say it because it's not everyone. I shouldn't say these blanket statements all the time. But like, from my perspective, it's like you could really, really get everybody more connected when you like just say something about the track, you know, do like some hey-hos and stuff like that. But you kind of have to be into it yourself. You can't just do it. And I mean, I love like one of my favorite records ever is like a 2 Live Crew live record because they're like talking to the crowd and like do stupid shit with the DJ. Like, I love those kind of shows. Like, that's where DJing started, is like that, like, the Selecta. They would fucking like, like just play a song and like fuck with the crowd and get them to talk back and stuff like that. Like, that, to me, that is a skill of DJing.
Oh, absolutely.
And not everything has to be this like cool techno thing where you get on the mic like every fucking 30 minutes. I mean, this is different. This is a different vibe. This is a party vibe.
Right, exactly. And I think you're right. I mean, it's different strokes for different folks. But there's so much gray area in between, you know, a totally silent set where you don't even look up once versus, you know, screaming every 5 seconds and counting down every drop.
Right.
There's so much in between that.
Right.
Like one thing I've started to do more and that I really like is just really trying to sort of make people understand that we're all on the same level and that we're all just here and that it's not really so serious, you know, and there's no reason to really like put anything on a pedestal about what we're doing.
I totally agree.
So it's, like I saw a comedian a few months back and he kept sort of referencing what was happening during the show, like as the show was happening, you know, so if a joke didn't work, he'd like stop and be like, hey, let's figure out what just happened there, you know? And it like shit like that.
I should do that.
Oh, dude, sometimes I think
Spin it back.
Yeah.
Hey, hold up. Why didn't you guys like that?
Like, honestly, I'm not saying you have to go that far, but I do think little moments like that to just remind people that it's like, we're just like having this moment together.
Yeah.
It then, when it comes back, I think people connect way harder because it doesn't feel like they're not looking at, like, say I mess up something and I don't acknowledge it. Like, if you're a savvy concert goer, you can look at that and be like, ooh, yeah, he's in it now. Like, I don't know how he's going to get out of that. That was awkward. Yeah. But, you know, if I acknowledge it, right, then you're like, oh, yeah, okay, we all saw it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, for sure. It's kind of like in life, what really tests your character is when things go wrong.
Yeah, true.
anyone could go through when things are going right. It's how you handle the wrong times, the hard times.
Dude, 100%. And okay, so that actually brings me back to what we were talking about was sort of those early touring days when I have to imagine stuff was probably going wrong all the time and it was much more of a grind. Were you ever on Warped Tour?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, at least for a minute, we got to talk about what that experience was like. Were you on it while they also were having DJs on it?
So we were like one of the first years that did an electronic stage.
Right.
Not a DJ stage. I don't think there were any DJs, just like electronic bands.
Okay.
There might have been a DJ. I kind of forget.
Yeah.
But
what was that? What do you remember about that whole experience?
So I remember we like a majority of the shows, like since there's so many bands, the buses have to park like a mile away from the venue sometimes or half a mile. So you have to bring your gear there. They don't have golf carts for everyone. You have to fucking lug it there, dude.
Yeah.
And especially like the lower end guys, like we were just like, bottom tier band on Warped Tour. So like I remember bringing, just walking like dead of heat, dude, on the East Coast.
You're out on some like asphalt parking lot.
Dude, it is tough. It is a very tough tour. I guess that's the biggest thing I remember. I remember it being sweaty and stinky.
Of course.
Everyone says this, it's the worst time and the best time of your life. It was totally true. Because it's like camp.
Right.
You meet so many people you like. And like, I still stay in contact with the Warped Tour people for sure.
Oh, that's cool. Did you intersect with Sonny's band in those days?
Not during Warped Tour time. So Sonny had a different band before Skrillex.
Okay.
I think we talked about it for a second on our last podcast.
You're right, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it,
we toured with that band.
That's right. Yeah. That's coming back to me now.
So yeah, that intersected, and then that's actually like how kind of how I signed my Ausile EP. I think maybe because he knew me, and
right.
But yeah, we've been hanging out more and stuff. And like he always talks about it, is like we used to tour in bands and bands, man.
That's awesome, man. And you're seeing him these days? Yeah,
I was helping him out with some shit like I don't know, a couple months ago.
That's cool, man.
We both could be at the Grammys too.
Oh, there you go. I know you haven't like put anything out together. Have you worked on stuff that people haven't heard? Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, I think anyone knows that it's like super hard to get stuff out with him.
Of course. I mean, his life is like just insane.
Yeah. Yeah, he's making 1 or 3 albums this year or something.
Sure. Yeah.
And like he's working also with like Ed Sheeran and like massive
Well, that's
people.
the thing. Everybody wants his time.
Yeah.
And well, okay. So we mentioned, at least we can talk about this though. We've talked about working with other people. What's it like being in the studio with Skrillex?
Super fun, actually. Dude, every time I'm with him, I learn a shit ton. I think anyone who watched that like YouTube stream realizes like how he works. Like he's kind of haphazard and, but like, just like keeps going to like build the vibe. And,
so he's not second guessing too much.
Actually, what's funny is the Miley remix happened right around the same time I was like working with him. And I think my girlfriend even said that. She was like, I think you kind of like leveled up there and used a lot of those techniques in that remix. She was like, I don't know shit about producing, but like I could kind of feel it. And I was like, yeah, I think you're right. Like that part where it goes to the halftime drop in the remix where it goes, pretty sure that was because I was hanging out with Skrillex.
That's cool, man. A couple last questions before we wrap it up. One thing I wanted to talk to you about, you mentioned earlier that you dabble in psychedelics a little bit.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your thoughts, however much you want to share what dabbling means for you and how that's sort of affected your creative process.
So, allegedly I dabble in psychedelic mushrooms. I just do like microdoses. It's not for everyone. I don't want to make it like say like it's like go do it. But I've done them a few times, and like to me it just I don't know. It doesn't change your like overall anything. Just kind of like sits in the background, and like maybe relieves like a little anxiety, a little more creative. Maybe a little more focused. Do you know what a flow state is?
Yeah, absolutely. But Go ahead and give your definition of it because I'm curious.
So like when you play sports, you're most likely in a flow state. You're not thinking about anything else. You have ultimate focus on what you're doing right there, right then, and like time could fly by like that. That's what I think of it as. And that is really important when you make music. If you want to like bang out a song really fast, like you can't have the Wi-Fi on, look at your phone and stuff. Like I get distracted super fast.
Yeah.
So it helps me kind of like stay focused, be like a little happier, a little more positive, a little more creative. It's not like a lot. And to me, it just like unreleases what's already there because I don't have my like bullshit emotions in the front of my head in a way, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, because you talked about ego death earlier, right? And maybe do you think that's sort of like a mini version of that?
I guess so, yeah. I think it just kind of like removes the veneer of like self-doubt. Like you kind of like realize that like really we're just like in this world to have fun and like, dude, just like go have fun, make some cool shit and like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I love that, man. Do you do it like I don't know. Some people I know will do like a month on, like month off.
Oh yeah,
thing.
I don't do it like every day.
Okay,
I'll do it like before a little session or something, or just by myself when I want to write. I like if I'm going to go into nature for sure and just actually not work on music, just like kind of like explore my mind.
Yeah, that's interesting, man.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Nobody knows. Yeah. So what's coming up next, man? That's the last thing we got to talk about is, this is a big moment for you. A couple days, you're going to the Grammys.
Yep.
By the time this comes out, you will have been at the Grammys.
Yep.
And I'm sure you're working on a shitload of stuff for this year.
I could say it. I'm working on an album.
Great.
I'm like, probably like 70, 80% done.
Oh, wow.
That is probably the biggest thing I could announce is that there's going to be like tons of cool features on it. And it should have like a nice push behind it. And we're going to do a lot of cool things over the year. Hopefully some like festival type, like takeover type things.
Oh, cool.
And
Well, that's cool, man. The album is exciting, I think, because that's for somebody like you who's come from the world of, bootlegs and edits and remixes. It's got to be a fun way to sort of flip all those ideas again to make, sort of a quote unquote official kind of release on that scale, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to try and do some stuff where like I quote unquote, sample or edit things and like clear them so that it kind of has like the same Wookiee vibe and
I
stuff.
love that idea, man.
So I think that will be a big part of it. And it's going to be really fun, really different, like all different genres. And I'm stoked on it. I'm honestly like, at first, for the longest time, I was against the idea of an album. But I think now it like really makes sense for me to like kind of explore different avenues that I can take, because in my mind, Wookiee could be anything now. It could be hip hop song. It could be a pop song. It could be a trap banger. It could be a house song. It just has to have like my kind of like style on it, which I've kind of figured out by now, I think. And so that is like, to me, really liberating. And like, I'm going to make tons of cool shit for this album.
Hell yeah, dude. And I think, you were saying earlier, the Grammy nomination, all that, it's these, sort of signposts along the way, right? And I think an album for you as a solo artist, that's just another one on the...
Yeah, I think it's very due for me, and I think this is the time to do it.
Well, it's great to see you, dude.
Dude, you too, man. Thank you so much.
All right, when the album drops, maybe we'll come back. We'll
all right,
do part
I'm down,
2.
dude. I'm down anytime.
Sweet, yeah, dude. We can do as many of these as you want. We'll do part 3 on psychedelics.
Sick.
All right, peace. All right, that's the show. Shout out to Wuki. Great to see you again, man. That was fun. I'm glad we got to catch up. For everybody out there listening, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And don't forget, you got to keep up with Wuki. He's doing a lot right now. He's on tour with Nitty Gritty. They just put out an EP together. He's got a new remix for DJ Snake. So there's a link in the description of this episode where you can go follow him, keep up with him, and everything that he's doing. My name is Willy Joy. You can follow me as well at Willy Joy or at Back to Back Pod on all social media. If you like this show, if you like what we're doing, give us a shout out, throw up a post, let people know you're listening, or come join our Discord. We're chatting every single day in the Discord for Back to Back. The link for that is in the description of this show as well. That's it for this week. I'm headed off to LA in a couple days, and whatever you're doing with this week, I hope you crush it. I hope you're feeling good and positive, and I'm rooting for you. So take care of yourself, have a great week, go have some fun, and I will talk to you next Tuesday. For Back to Back, this is Willy Joy. Peace.